For the purposes of this demo, we're going to be incredible outdoors. We're sporting an outdoor goods store, and historically our marketing strategy has been focused on creating weekly category promotions. So we'll send out different emails around interest in skis, backpacks, shoes, things of that nature. And for a while, that really worked for us. Our average order value, our purchase frequency, our LTV, all of our metrics were really doing great. But over the last year, we've seen these promotions perform less effectively, and we realized that we need to make a change. We've identified 4 cohorts, and we've realized that we're doing a great job with some of them, but we're really underperforming with 2 specific ones, window shoppers and churned users. And once we dig deeper into this data, it's become very clear that this current strategy of blasting out weekly category promotions just is not working when it comes to these users. And so what we want to do is do something different, really stand out a bit in their inbox, and really re-engage them with a visual experience strategy for a sale that we have upcoming called Winter's Last Hurrah. For this sale, we also realized that there are different types of winter users, and we want to increase relevancy by targeting these different types. We have Andrew, those who are people trying to escape the cold. You know, New York had a wonderful cold spree, and Andrew was just not happy. And then myself, a winter sports enthusiast, someone who actually embraces the cold, was really looking forward to keep my sweaters out a little bit longer. But there's a big question of how do you actually identify these types of interests and these types of users? Well, with Movable Ink, you can actually use any data element that you have on your customer across multiple data sources. And since Incredible Outdoors uses behavioral targeting for Movable Ink, we've collected behavior data on items like a user's most recently browsed category, most recently bought products, the last time they were active on site, and many more. Some of this includes the new features that Dave mentioned, which is whether or not they've clicked on past content, which we can now target thanks to our historical batch and blast approach of sending out product and category promotions. We can also combine this with our CRM data that I mentioned cohorting, using the new mixed Boolean targeting to properly target these users. And so to do so, we're going to actually walk through creating this campaign in the platform itself. And so we're going to take, there's a bit of a slight delay, and there's another window that you'll have to open for a live view on the left side of your screen. But in this view, you'll see us in the actual campaign dashboard right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new campaign. And within this campaign, we're actually going to call it the Winter's Last Hurrah campaign. And within this campaign, we're going to create our visual experience header. And I'm going to slow down because I've been told that there is a slight delay in the actual feed itself. And so within this feed, you should be seeing the campaign being created. And you'll also see, again, that I'm creating this visual experience header. Great. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create targets. And so within this target, we are able to define the various rules as it relates to what piece of visual experience we should present to the appropriate user. And so after creating a target, I'm going to open up and create rules. And within these rules, we're going to create two categories, right? We have the cohort of users that we've identified as underperforming, and then we have the group of identified characteristics as to whether or not they're interested in being a beachgoer or whether or not they're interested in winter sports. And for that, what we're doing is we're actually going to use some of Movable Ink's behavioral data. And so first what we're going to do is actually pull in most recently browsed category. And so within most recently browsed category, what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull in the URL, which I have worked with my Movable Ink account manager and my team to define that if it shows swim within 7 days, they've shown semblance of interest. I'm also going to pull in another behavioral data point called most recently searched as well, which I'm going to add in right now. And the same idea applies here. I've actually worked with my team to identify that if the URL contains swim, we know that that actually identifies them as having interest in the actual beach-going experience for winter goers. I'm also going to change this into an or rule because if they fall into any one of these categories, we feel as though they are recognized as a beach goer. And lastly, as Dave mentioned, we have this new feature that allows you to target based off of a previous action if you are a Signals customer. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to target based off of action on block. And within that action on block, what we're actually going to do is target based off of a past campaign that we sent called the Beach Getaway Flash Sale that we sent in December. And because this Beach Getaway featured a swimsuit hero, it is our belief that this individual is actually interested in beach-related sends. And so while that pulls up a little bit more, what this group basically shows is that we've created a set of rules that will target an individual who, based off of these data points that we have worked with our Movable Ink team, as well as our internal marketing and data team, to identify whether or not they are interested in the beach-going experience. But now we have to combine that with the experience of whether or not they belong in one of the cohorts that we mentioned earlier. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add another group. And within that group, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make it such that there's an and in between these two groups, such that they have to fit within each one of these two categories. And so after that, I'm going to start adding some of the CRM data that I just mentioned. So some of that includes the cohort data. So I'm going to pull in query parameter as this starts to catch up to me. Query parameter IO cohort is wshopper churn. Yep. Sorry for the delay, folks, but IO cohort, got to work on my spelling, is wshopper. Let's add one more for churn users. Again, excuse my spelling. I'm working on it a bit. And once we've actually gotten that, the other thing that we want to consider is, again, more of Movable Ink's behavioral data. We have a lot of things that we've collected about our users. So I'm going to add one more rule. I'm going to add this rule for last active on site. And so we've had this conversation with our internal team, and we know that a churned user is an individual who has not been in the site in the last 30 days. And so with that, we've created another rule that we believe will capture all of these types of users. And once we've done that, provided that an individual user fits into these two categories, the top target is going to show them an experience that fits with their beach-going desires. Whereas the second one is going to be for the winter sports enthusiast who fits within one of those cohorts. And so what we've done is we've created the appropriate targeting for our visual experience strategy. But there's an important component that we're missing. We're missing the compelling visual experience. And for that, I'm actually going to pass it off to Andrew Deutsch to walk you through this next part.
Thank you, JP. So now that JP's created a great foundation for us to build our campaign on, we have to ask ourselves, what type of content do we want to serve? We're going to serve the AR Frame app, which has just recently been released. To do that, I'm going to hit the Content button, Add Content button, scroll down, choose the AR Frame app, and that is going to load in Studio an augmented reality interface. So what we have here is classic Studio setup, except we have created on the stage, on a single stage, each element of the experience. So scroll all the way out, zoom all the way out, and I'll give it just a second to get into the center there. And what you see is everything that is going to be included in the experience. We have a loading panel, and these panels are all accessible on the left-hand side layer menu there. And we have a loading panel, and we have a review panel, and we have a landscape panel, an error panel, and a terms and conditions panel. And you just see that, and they're all set up in individual groups. And if you expand any of these groups, you'll see inside of them all of the individual items that make up the group. So we are going to be focusing on a single panel today, and that is the video panel. And the video panel's assets are all available at the top of the layer menu. So I'm going to zoom up the video panel to the center of the screen, and you'll see that there are a number of elements there. We have the tap for photo and record button, which are at the bottom of the video panel here. And these pieces, you have to keep them at the top of the layer order so the user has an unobstructed access to them. And then we have the query param, which is already set up to take a username, which we have easy access to. So I'm going to select that query param, and I'm going to reposition it at the bottom of the video panel. Then we're going to update the copy in just a second here, once I get this in just the right position. And since we're targeting winter sports fans, I'm going to make this one especially for JP, because he has a real, all he talks about is winter sports. That's it. That's all he ever seems to talk about. So we're just going to make this for him. I was going to do it for myself, but yeah, let's do it for JP. And we have that set up now, and I think we're going to need to bring. It's going to make a big difference if we change the styling a little bit here. So I'm going to reposition the query param and the record button. Okay, that's just about the right spot. I think we're good now. Okay, so we're ready to bring in some images. So I'm going to get the winter frame image here, bring that in. That's going to be great. And I need to get a logo, which lets the user know who's made this experience a possibility for them. And then I want to. This is looking okay. It's looking okay, but I think we need to make it a little bit colder, because JP's dedication to extreme cold weather it's notable. So I'm gonna bring in a animated GIF of snow, called snow GIF, and I'm gonna resize it right here, and we are gonna set it to the dimensions of the stage, and I think we're in pretty good shape here. So I just need to set up some fallback images over here in the app properties panel. After I set that up accordingly, and then I'm going to bring in a CTA that the user is going to see in their email. Get all these pieces in here. Okay, and now I'm going to take a look at some of the elements at the bottom of the panel here, the app properties pane. And we have a camera direction, which we're not going to concern ourselves with, but we could also use the camera that faces away from the user, the rear-facing camera. We will need to use an app ID if we're going to be, luckily the default is set to our account, so we're not going to add an app ID here. Share message is great. We're not going to make any changes there. And we are also going to need to add a share post landing page URL, which is that's the final link that the user will be sent to if they click through on the share post to the image that is hosted on our servers, or on Movable Ink servers. They'll be doing that for us. And we're going to go ahead. I think we are in good shape. We are going to hit the preview app, and what we see here is the CTA that you'll see in the email. And then if you hit the landing page desktop tab there, you will see JP, loving this experience. This is built just for him. We have to get his name in there, though. We need to make a quick shift to the name over here. We can preview that in the merge tag field on the left. That's better. Then we're going to take a photo. Let's see. Yeah, he's happy. He's taking a photo now, and we are going to download that image. And we are not going to share this experience because it's linked with my Facebook account, and I don't want to confuse my family that much. So I'm going to consider this a built AR experience. So that is the AR frame app. Let's move on now to an AR app that's a bit more dynamic, and this is the AR face filter app. So I'm just going to switch tabs here. And what you see here is essentially everything that you saw in the AR frame app. We have all of the elements on the stage laid out in the same way, and I've already pre-populated this one with the images that I want to use for the beach experience, otherwise known as the experience that I want to see. This is the one that I would be targeting me. The only pieces that are missing here are the images that we need to use to create a face tracking scenario. So you will bring in the image. We're going to be using a 2D image here, and we're going to bring that in through the media library by clicking the image tool button. And I love these scuba goggles, so I'm going to bring those in. And to make this track to my image only when my mouth is open, I need to add a class name here. And this will be converted to a checkbox in the near future, but this is what we have currently visible when my mouth is open. So I'm going to add that class as well. And I do that all in the Layer Properties panel when I have the image selected on the right-hand side here. Okay. So I think that this one is ready to go. I'm going to hit the Preview App button over here. We have the CTA already set up. This one was already built out. I did it the same exact way I did it with the AR Frame app. And then we are going to, after we have confirmation that that CTA is looking as we expect it to look, we're going to hit the landing page desktop. And here I am. I'm ready to go to the beach. And I'm not going to personalize the name for this one, but I'm going to take a photo of myself about 10 or 15 seconds after I've actually done it, because my voice precedes my motions for some reason. It's a gift. I don't know. It makes communication challenging, but we're going to power through this. And then I am going to very methodically hit the share button in the lower right-hand corner here. And after I've done that, I'm gonna see that I've hit the message just the way that I'd like to see it. Let's check this out. I'm gonna hit share to Facebook right below the image and the message there. And after I've done that, some terms and conditions are going to pop up. No problem. I'm going to agree to them, and then that is going to load Facebook. And now I get a second to consider whether or not this is something that I actually want to share with people that I care about. I do, so I'm going to just click over here and see that it's time to dig into my profile and see if it's successfully posted. And it's looking like I've done it. I've gotten this image on to Facebook. So that is the AR Face Filter app and the AR Frame app available today.